Hey, Exotical darlings, this is Coco Exotical. Thank you for being here with me. Today we're going to talk about how people need to stop throwing rocks and hiding their hands and the audacity of playing the victim after starting the war. So let's get into it. You know what's crazy? It's crazy that there's people in this world who love to spend their precious time and energy trying to disrupt your peace, mess with your life, talk about you behind your back, throw shade at you. And then the second that you stand up for yourself, the second that you set a boundary, the second that you call them out, all of a sudden you're the villain. You're the problem. You're the one who's too sensitive or overreacting or being dramatic. No, we're not doing that anymore, right? So today we're going to break down the psychology behind people who start wars and then play the victim when you defend yourself. People who throw rocks and then hide their hands, right? So first they try to provoke you, right? They start with the little digs and passive aggressive comments. So maybe you like to put on a little bit of makeup whenever you leave the house. Nothing crazy, just a little eyeliner, mascara, and lip gloss, right? Then they'll say something like, I love that I'm a natural beauty. I don't need to wear makeup all the time, implying that you don't have natural beauty simply because you like to use makeup to enhance your features. Or maybe you get a promotion at work and then they'll say something like, dang, you moved up quickly. Who'd you have to sleep with to get that promotion? Then when they see that you're not playing with them, then they're like, oh my gosh, I'm just joking. Yet they never once congratulated you or anything, right? They talk about you behind your back. They exclude you from group plans. They try to undermine you at work. And then they keep on trying to cross your boundaries, right? And then when you finally had enough and you clap back or you distance yourself from these people, all of a sudden here they come with the theatrics, right? All of a sudden now they're the victim. Now they want to tell everybody how mean you are and how you attack them out of nowhere and how they have no idea what happened, right? Then they start to cry and try to get sympathy from other people to try to make you out to be the villain, right? So maybe you have a so-called friend who's constantly saying backhanded comments, diminishing your accomplishments, competing with you and trying to make you feel small, right? But when you call out their behavior and you start keeping your distance from them because you're tired of their nonsense, now they want to tell everyone that they don't know what happened and that you abandoned them and that you don't invite them out anymore and that they're so hurt by your behavior now, right? Or maybe you have family members who are always criticizing your life choices, disrespecting your relationships, disrespecting your boundaries, and trying to control your life, right? But when you set limits and stand firm on your boundaries with them, all of a sudden you're disrespectful or ungrateful, or you think you're better than everybody else, right? Or if you move to a different city or a different state to put some literal distance between you and them and their nonsense, then all of a sudden they're telling everybody, oh, I don't know what's wrong with her. She just ran away from everybody. She doesn't talk to us anymore. She doesn't tell us anything about her life anymore. She doesn't care about us anymore, as if they never did anything to make you not want to be around them, right? Or maybe you have a boss or a coworker who's making dismissive or passive-aggressive comments about your ideas during meetings, or who tries to take credit for your work, or who spreads rumors about you in the office, right? Then when you report them to HR, then they try to say that it never happened, or that you're being too sensitive, or that you're trying to get them in trouble over nothing, right? So do you see the pattern? They throw their rocks and then they hide their hands, right? They start the fire and then they start screaming when the alarm goes off. They play the victim after starting the war, right? So people like this are emotionally stunted, right? They're in a state of arrested development. Mentally, they never grew up. They never matured past elementary school, right? They're operating from a child's emotional playbook. When kids get caught doing something wrong, what do? They lie, they deflect, they blame someone else, right? No, I didn't do it. They started it. It's not fair. She's being mean, right? So psychologically, these people are stuck in arrested development. They never learned healthy coping mechanisms, accountability, or emotional regulation, right? So when they're faced with consequences for their own actions, then they go back to these childish defense mechanisms, right? They don't want to take responsibility for their own behavior or for the consequences of that behavior. People like this are usually miserable in their own lives as well, right? They want to project that misery onto other people. People who are happy with themselves and their own lives are minding their own business and enjoying themselves, right? They're not overly concerned about what other people are doing and not doing. So if someone is constantly monitoring your life, starting drama and trying to disrupt your peace, it's because their own life is a hot mess, right? They're not happy with themselves, so they can't stand to see you happy. They're not successful in their own lives, so they can't celebrate your success, right? They're not fulfilled in their own lives, so they need to drain your energy in order to feel powerful and important, right? People like this are deeply jealous and envious, and they can't stand to see people peaceful and thriving. A lot of people will keep you around just to monitor you, right? And see what you're up to and what's going on in your life, but they don't really like you. And then when you start leveling up, then they start to get hateful and jealous, right? They don't want to see you thriving. They'll only accept you as a past version of yourself that they're comfortable with, right? So if they feel like they're doing better than you, then it's okay. But if they feel like you're doing better than them, now all of a sudden it's a problem. And you can tell that they're jealous when they stop asking how you're doing and what you're up to. And then when they get triggered, when you start talking about what's going on in your life, right? Then they shut it down and they get annoyed and change the topic and start talking about themselves again, right? That's because they see something in you that they wish that they themselves had. They secretly wish that they had your confidence, your success, your happiness, your beauty, your authenticity, your independence, your intelligence, your freedom, your peace, right? And instead of doing the work to build those things in their own lives, they try to tear you down. They monitor your social media. They monitor what you're doing, what you're wearing, what you're eating, who you're dating, how you do your makeup, how you do your job. They keep constant tabs on your life, and then they compare themselves to you constantly, right? And when you're thriving, because instead of focusing on other people, you've been using your time to focus on yourself and improve your own life, then that drives them crazy, right? They won't focus on themselves and try to improve themselves because deep down they secretly believe that they can't do it. They don't believe that they can do better and be better, so they prefer to antagonize other people for fun instead, right? Just like a child would do, right? They refuse to take accountability for anything in life. People like this have spent their entire life avoiding accountability, right? Some of them have never truly had to face the consequences of their own actions because they've mastered the art of playing the victim, right? So when you're not with the bullshit and you hold them accountable, now you're disrupting their entire program. You're breaking the pattern that's worked for them for years, so they're going to fight tooth and nail to maintain that victim status because it's the only power that they have. They need to have control, right? They start off starting conflict, and then they're playing the victim, right? So doing that is all about control. So they don't feel like they have control anywhere else in their own lives. So now they want to manipulate and control the situation with you. They provoke you to get a reaction, and then they want to use your reaction to control the narrative, right? They want you to get angry. They want you to come out of your character and explode so that they can point the finger and say, see, I told you she was crazy. I told you I'm not the problem. It's all just manipulation at its finest, right? Again, they're throwing their rock and then hiding their hand. So you can't give these people the satisfaction of a reaction, right? Because that's exactly what they want. So just protect your peace and move on. When they see that they can't bait you, when they see that you're not a toy that they can play with, then just like a child, they're going to get bored with you and they're going to move on to somebody else who usually takes the bait, right? So don't go back and forth with them, and don't go back and forth with other people about them either, because sometimes that's what they'll try to do, right? They'll try to play the victim and rope other people into their nonsense and then send them your way to try to bait you that way as well, right? So you don't owe anybody any explanations about anything. Simply let your character speak for itself, because people who actually know you and your character are going to stand by you when these people and their childish victim performance begins, right? Their behavior is a reflection of them and their character, not you, right? The fact that they're monitoring your life, starting drama and playing the victim says everything about who they are mentally and emotionally, and why they are where they are in life and you are where you are in life, right? They're not confused about their behavior. They're manipulative and they know exactly what they're doing. If you fight back, then you're the villain. If you ignore them, then you're stuck up. If you defend yourself, then you're too sensitive. And if you walk away, then you're running away, right? So stop trying to explain yourself. Stop trying to make people see your side of things, right? And stop trying to get a manipulator to acknowledge what they did wrong, because that's never going to happen. Instead, simply focus on your peace, your growth, and your life, right? The thing about people who throw rocks and hide their hands is that eventually everyone starts to see them throwing the rocks, right? Because they can't hide their hand fast enough. They can't help but try to manipulate people. So eventually their patterns are going to become obvious, right? Eventually they're going to run out of ways to hide. So there's no need for you to waste your energy trying to expose them, because their own behavior is going to do that themselves, right? All you need to do is protect your own energy, set your boundaries, and focus on yourself and your life so that their drama becomes background noise that you can't even hear anymore, right? Keep being authentic, keep protecting your peace, and keep enjoying your own life. So tell me about it. Have you ever dealt with people in your life who like to throw rocks and then hide their hands? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.